And I wasn't able to process this. I was not able to understand how I go from being Koel Purie to being invisible.
That's an unfiltered actor, producer, and author, Koel Purie Rinchet, on episode 2 of Say Again with me, Amrita Tripathi. Let's dive right into a conversation where she talks not just about the challenges of reinventing herself in a foreign land, but also bridging the gap with a new generation, looking at relevance and reinventing herself. Get ready for that unfiltered conversation where Koel shares refreshing insights on aging, belonging, and I even ask her about that controversial Nepo baby phenomenon. Don't miss out on a candid chat right here. Koel Purie Rinchet, welcome to Say Again with me, Amrita Tripathi, and thank you for joining us on a brand new podcast. I'm excited to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about many things over the next 20 to 30 minutes. So we're going to see what we can pack in. We're going to talk to you about your debut novel, Clearly Invisible in Paris. We're going to talk a little bit about, there we go. We're going to talk to you a little bit about, you're also a multi-hyphenate. You have, different interests. You've done so many different things. You're an actor, you're a producer, you're an author. Talk to us about, your journey. Where did it start? Was acting actually the first thing you really wanted to do? Because I think, especially for folks of my vintage, I don't know, those of you listening would probably be much, much, much younger, but many of us got to see Koel first on screen, back in the day with Everybody Says I'm Fine, just to take a trip down memory lane, where you just lit the screen on fire. And I just remember that being such a fierce and magnetic portrayal. I still remember that till this day. This is way before I'd ever had the chance to meet you. And you just blew everyone away.
Now you've really given your age away, because there's a certain generation that actually does come up to me and go, "Oh, Everybody Says I'm Fine. Where have you been since then?" I was like, actually, I've done a lot of films since then, but it sticks. That one sticks. So, I'm not going to fight it. But where did my journey begin? No, it didn't begin as an actor. It, coming from the background that I come from and the time that we were growing up in the late 90s and stuff, Bollywood was the only avenue if you wanted to make acting a profession in India. You couldn't just be a theatre actor. You still can't, in fact, right? Unless you're a regional theatre actor. And Bollywood was not a decent place at that point, or a place where intellectuals went. And of course, I fancied myself very much as an intellectual.
You fancied yourself as an intellectual.
As an intellectual, and so no, but acting was really just a hobby, to put it any other way, right? What I did enjoy the most and what I did want to be was definitely I wanted to be in front of the camera, or center stage, have too much main character syndrome in my life, right? And so when I finished university, it was let me be a broadcasting journalist, because that made sense with whatever I was doing. And my first job was with Nikhil Alva, who put me in front of the camera as a travel journalist. Well, travel journalist, or just I don't know what I was or what we were, but we were doing things back in Doordarshan, right? That's how long back my journey with television and screen is. So, and after that, I always find that people's journey, you can plan something, but destiny has its own plan for you. And as long as you keep walking somewhere where destiny and your plan match, you have a happy life.
And have you found that more or less that, you're open to things as they come? Like you give off that energy for sure. Like, that you're kind of open to things. You'll try new things, whether it's, we've talked about sort of TV, broadcast journalism, acting, producing, writing. Do you kind of follow, whatever shows up? Or do you have some sense of this is what I want to achieve as well? This is what I want my legacy to be, for example?
I know, because I'm second born, so I don't have that whole, this is what I want my legacy to be. I am very me, myself, and I. But this idea of are you open to things, more and more I'm discovering, it depends on the frequency you vibrate on. And sometimes, and literally I can feel it, sometimes I am vibrating on a higher frequency and therefore things fall into my lap. And how do I do this? I have no idea. I'm not on that journey of spirituality and mindfulness where I'm able to, yes, through meditation, through whatever, manifest and be there. No, I'm not that person yet. Let's put it that way. But I'm
Hmm.
definitely aware in different parts of my life when it's a kind of almost like a snowball effect, right? You're open to something, it comes to you, so therefore it makes you feel good, therefore you vibrate at a certain level, and then you're open to more things and more things come to you. And were they always there, you just couldn't see them? I don't know. So there are many points in my life where doors have closed, and many points in my life where doors have just opened, tuck, 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 like that. And
Hmm.
I now really believe that it's how my relationship with the universe. I'm not a master of being able to control that yet. um yet, but
Not levitating yet, not levitating just yet.
not levitating just yet. And I don't mean to sound airy fairy about this. I mean this in a very, like, genuine way of, like, when you're doing something that you love, or you're happy, or you're grateful for that coming into your life, you give out an aura and an energy that others, forget universe, just others reciprocate.
Hmm. And I do want to ask you a little bit. And I've been listening to, I don't know if you've heard this podcast by Julia Louis Dreyfus, Wiser Than Me, where she's literally talking to older women. She's sort of,
Mm.
including Jane Fonda, who's amazing. And she's like in her third act of life. And, the whole premise of the podcast is we never get to hear older women. Now, we're obviously not in that third act of your life, but I'm really curious because I think that even in India, which we have a very different sort of cultural setup. You alluded to Bollywood not being where it was not very respectable back in the day. We do still project so much onto women, right? Whether it's anchors, whether it's actors, whether it's just women on Instagram nowadays. How hard has aging been for you? Is it something you think about? I mean, I think about the 30s and now 40s being very liberating in a way. You can kind of breathe. You know who you are. You know who your friends are. Can I ask you that question? I mean, without getting too personal, I just want to know how have you taken this sort of journey when it comes to time and experience?
Well, really, really well, and really, really badly. It just
Hmm.
really depends on which aspect of it. So, yes, I've grown into my own skin, I've grown into my own face. I don't think I've looked or felt better than ever before in my life. Like, especially when I look at, even like you talked about, everybody says I'm fine. There's a little clip that someone sent me the other day, and it was from my premiere. And this is long before the paps were there and stuff. And I remember this, but I have a little ponytail with a ruffle, okay, in this. It's my premiere. I'm wearing wings. I have done my makeup myself. I remember it's greasy, it's awful. It's got some silver stuff coming out like that. Okay, audacity of youth and all that, right? Like, okay, you do what. But I look hideous. And it's like, I'm the main character of this huge premiere, and like it's my moment and whatever. Like, I didn't. So just physically I feel like I'm, in some way more me, but that is because also mentally I'm more confident about who I
Hmm.
am. But I don't have the guts, let's put it this way, the guts that youth gives you. At 22 I was producing, writing, and acting in a daily soap for Doordarshan called Aaj Ki Nari. How did I do this? Where did I go and pitch? I look back to my younger self and I'm like, I need some of that confidence with some of this wisdom to come in together. And that's work that you have to do on yourself. So I'm trying to. I have the not wisdom, but just the therav, for want of a better word, of just a calm that comes with age. But I want some of that. Who gives a flying fuck about what anyone thinks, to come into my life a little bit more?
I love it. I love it. And by the way, I'm just going to respectfully disagree. I doubt that you ever looked hideous 1 minute in your life, but
Oh, no, no,
I will
you
take
need
that
to
as
see
you're
this
saying
clip,
that.
okay?
Okay, let me see the clip.
It shocked me.
I feel like, but I mean, and you take so many things for granted. You're right. I think that when you're young, you also sometimes you have more hunger. Like when you're starting out, you want to prove yourself. All of that is there as well. I want to talk to you. We're going to come to the book in a second.
No,
I
no,
want to
no,
talk.
no, wait. I disagree with that, huh? You also have hunger, especially as a woman, and especially as a woman, as you say in the second act. My daughter is finally older, and all those kind of things. I am so hungry at this moment in my life for everything. I'm more hungry than I've ever been. But like I say, I need to be able to channel that hunger to say, come on, bring it in, you know? Yeah.
Okay, anyone listening, you heard it here.
Yeah.
Koel's raring to go. So basically, Paris, Mumbai, Delhi, it doesn't matter. You're ready. You're
And
very much.
boundaries, geography, like, didn't COVID erase all that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've been someone who's really juggled that, and it really is core to your book. I want to come to your book in a second, but I will take one step back and ask you, very sort of not to be boring about it, but we did talk about a little bit about allude to your background a little bit. Have you ever worried about this nepo baby tag? Have you ever thought, okay, well, there's a media empire, media conglomerate my family runs, that's a natural fit for me? I mean, you had an incredible show on there, right? I mean, On the Couch with Koel was so much
But
fun for
only
so many.
because at that moment, that show could have easily been on NDTV. Would that have made any sense? No.
Ah, yeah,
So it's not, I have no qualms about how good I was in that show, or how good that show was.
that was a
And no one else can point fingers at it. It was an extremely successful show. The ratings showed that. So
yeah,
uh, because I come from the family I came from, it was it was
yeah,
nonsensical to be anywhere else.
yeah.
But yes, anyone else star would have bought it. Anyone would have bought it. I would have made 10 times more money. Um, had I like,
It's cheap
honestly.
in the open
But
market. Yeah, yeah,
this is a fact. So
yeah.
I what are you going to do? You're going to that's your ovarian lottery, right? Of where you're born. Now, either you're going to be handed something on a platter, or you're going to say, look, I have all these advantages to my birth because I'm born where I'm born. I'm going to make use of them, and I'm going to prove that I'm worthy of this.
Mm,
And I don't ever have a problem with my track record. I have never had a free ride for anything. I have worked up everything. No one in my family has had a free ride for anything.
mm,
So we've all been put through the grind.
yeah.
But having said that, I have nothing to do with the media conglomerate, as you say. I don't work with them. I come in as and when, someone needs me to be a MC and stuff. But that is, they're getting me for free. So, I mean,
But anything is the
someone
other
else
way.
I'm charging a lot of money for.
It's
So,
it's
uh,
working the other way. But do
so
you miss
no,
that show, by the way,
hmm?
On the Couch? Do you miss your show?
I sometimes I miss how people react to me because everyone bows to the rising sun, especially in this industry.
Oh,
Um, so yes, I miss the fact. I miss the fact that I had a certain aura just for the fact that I had the show, and the way that people uh, reacted to me. And this generation don't know me, so
that's so
Gen
interesting.
Z is like, tum ho kaun? Huh? Rightly so. Rightly so.
Love that. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
your Insta. I have to say, you're a huge. I think from the social that I've seen you, I think Twitter or X is kind of like over now for you, and like
Yeah.
Insta is kind of where you're being really yourself, right? Like there's so much fun in your videos. You have done a few lectures to Gen Z. You've talked a lot about France. So I'm going to come to your book
Pictures.
now because when I picked up Clearly Invisible in Paris, I got it on my Kindle actually. So I'm going to have you show it again because that looks much better. I actually, for a second, thought it's going to be more of a memoir because you've been doing these super funny clips about how you're practically French now, staring through people, being very rude, like not the typical Parisian. But tell me a little bit about what, when, how did this book happen?
It's true, the name itself with saying Koel, Purie, Rinchet, clearly invisible in Paris, it does sound like a memoir, but anyone who's read it knows it's pure fiction, right?
Mm,
Like, yes, there is me in every character. There's parts of everyone that I know and so many little bits that I've taken from people that are there, but it's certainly not a memoir, right? I hope you agree with that, right? Now
no,
that
no,
you've read
100%.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Let me a
Yeah.
big disclaimer. I was like before I picked it up, and then I was like, oh my god, and I couldn't put it down. It was actually it's a really fun, but also brutally honest in some ways, right? Like I feel like there's so much going on behind the scenes of that book where you do kind of shine a mirror, and of course it takes place through the pandemic as well, but you do hit upon things like class divide, who gets to be an outsider, who gets to be an insider in Paris,
Which
privilege.
is unfortunately a very poignant question of the moment in France right now. I mean, we're going through a very scary, I mean, come Sunday, we will know where we stand. Um, but people who look like me are going to be second class citizens in France very quickly if what we hope doesn't come to pass. Like, let's hope it doesn't. Anyway, that's digressing. In retrospect, I feel that I wrote this book because I needed to process what was going on in my own life, in some sense, and writing is kind of like my ikigai, but also kind of a place where this story was bursting out of me. I couldn't this life. I've come to Paris. I'm married to a French guy. I live in Paris. I'm Koel Purie. All this, and suddenly, it's a really tough city, and anyone who lives here understands that. Even the Parisians understand that, right? The born, brought up, the right surname, all the rest of it, the right address. Even they understand it's a cold, hard city. It's the most beautiful city, but it's a tough place to be. And I wasn't able to process this. I was not able to understand how I go from being Koel Puri to being invisible. And so many wonderful women around me, powerful, super achieving women, also felt the same way. And this, and across class, this started then churning inside me, and just to make sense of it, I started writing. And of course, I love fiction, so I love inventing, I love creating things. So it started, that was the seed of it. It was the need to be able to process my own journey of what is going on. So it's not a memoir, but that is 100% a starting point for it.
Hmm. And you said there's a little bit of you in a lot of the characters, in all the characters almost.
In
And
all
you
the
know,
characters, I believe so. Yeah.
that's incredible. And I think also what I found very moving, in your acknowledgements at the end of the book, where you say, so many of you have shared your stories with me. You should know that you're seen and heard. I think that's it just speaks to how important it is to bear witness sometimes, right? Because that's the one thing that a lot
Yeah.
of people miss out on.
But Amrita, this is everyone has their own little, I call it superpower, but it's not a superpower, but everyone has their own forte, right? And my forte has always been people overshare. Random people, they come and overshare. This is why my couch was a success. And it's not because I'm a great listener, because you can hear me. I'm a great talker as well. I love to talk. So, but I don't know what it's about, me or but random people in Paris would just come and start telling me their stories. There are so many people who I don't even know their names anymore. I've forgotten where I met them and what it was. I'd be in a, in social event or a school event or somewhere in a line in some administrative thing or whatever, and someone would just start going blah, 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 like this, and I was like, oh, okay. So
You're
it's
obviously an empathetic listener. Otherwise, I don't think they'd be sharing randomly with the cookie
I
lady.
don't claim to be any, because I talk a lot. So, uh, but yeah, people do overshare. So yes,
So
I,
do you feel like, I mean, Neera is this character who comes, and actually at some point we should have you do a bit of a reading if you're ready. Can I just tell anyone listening, and again, not to date ourselves, but Koel, you did this beautiful dramatic reading for my first novel when it came out. That was back in 2010, Broken News, and I was just blown away. Actually, you took it super seriously, which I'm so glad. I remember it was in Mumbai. Naresh Fernandez was there. You just landed, and you're like, "Listen, I need a little bit of I need my own time and space to get into the zone." And then you just came back and did an amazing job. So, thank you for that again. That was a long time ago, and I
see
appreciate it.
that Amrita. Wow. I mean, firstly, yes, that's how we met.
Yeah.
But that again was my glory days of the couch. Everyone wanted there was a certain kind of section of society that wanted me to be part of their things, and I was very happy to be celebrated like that.
Yeah.
But this is where that whole question of nepotism comes. I would show up for myself. So you're
Yeah.
saying, yes, I would take up 2 minutes to be in the zone because you've called me. I'm not just going to be, oh, okay, kya karna hai, what is it?
Yeah.
You call
Yeah.
me for something,
Yeah.
I'm going to deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and in that case, I think it was not the couch so much as like that vintage, remembering you from the movies and being like, please, can we get this woman? She'd be amazing. And then we had to I remember you were traveling or something, and you're like, listen, I don't know if I should. Anyway, you were just like, listen, your publisher's not going to be able to fly me down. And I was like, no, I won't stay in a hotel. They'll fly you down. Do you have a place to stay? And I still remember you laughing on the phone. You were just like, I have a place to stay. Okay, we'll do this. And it was one of those moments. I was just like, I can't actually even imagine. I think you're right. When you're younger, you just make these like wild calls, cold calls, and just, but coming back to the dramatic reading, the impact you have on people, I think you do have that kind of persona where people want to hang out with you probably and share things. And maybe it's a bit different when you're in India. So coming back to your character Neera, who's in a very different kind of social circle in India, she's kind of goes to this very privileged social circle in France. Just before we get to the reading and the characters themselves, do you feel that you're essentially the same person, whether it's Paris, whether it's Delhi, when you were in Tokyo, or is there something different that happens when you're an expat? And like you said, you have to start reinventing yourself a little bit, I guess.
I have to reinvent myself permanently, which is very freeing, but also because of the privileges that I come from, and I'm not just talking last name in India, but the legacy that I built for myself, the name that I built for myself in India, that comes with certain privileges, that opens certain doors. Those things are missing here, so those are things I have to build and all that. And that currency doesn't exist in Tokyo or in Paris. Although in Tokyo, I became the brand ambassador by the Japanese government, which I was like, yeah, this kind of rocks, because it opened a lot of doors for things. So things fall into place. But yes and no. So in my core, I'm essentially me. And I still have my, handful of friends from school that we have known each other since we were literally 4 years old. And, we don't even like each other that much anymore, but we're still best friends. So whatever that's about. And I have a whole bunch of new girlfriends that I have stalked and found and kept, because I need my friends close. I need my women near me. I need these people around me. But it's work. You got to do that work. You got to go and say, please be my friend. Please come and hang out with me. I'm fun. It's constantly having to say, to prove that, like, you're saying, oh, lots of people want to hang out with you. No, not every time you move to a new place. You have to prove yourself every time for that. But I hope, and I believe, and I hope that my core is still maybe embellished with all the experiences that I've had. I hope so, because otherwise what's the point? You're very stagnant. I hope that I've evolved. But the essence of me, I hope that it's the same, that it doesn't become, I'm not schizophrenic.
And, with your writing, the friendships are actually core to this book, right? The friendships, all of these, the women and some of them, and of course, sort of transgender identities as well. You have folks who are outsiders but find each other, and in that finding of each other, they make Paris even more like home, right? That seemed like a really powerful message, I think, especially in this day and age.
And so for me, a lot of that was wishful thinking at that point. Since then, a lot has come to pass, where I have got a core group of women that I have literally stalked, and men. But when I was writing it, I was like, literally, it was like a love letter to the kind of life that I wanted.
Yeah.
That I want these kind of women in my life,
You made that happen. You basically wrote it into me. Oh, that's amazing. Actually, the power of fiction. Gosh, tell me why did you decide to do fiction and not like a memoir, which you could have easily done?
Oh gosh, who wants to talk about the drudgery of your own life? Please. Like, people say, like my close friends who know whatever is going on in my life, they're just like, what is, like, if anyone saw your Insta page, they'd be thinking you live this kind of like amazing whatever life, but it's so far from the truth. So far from the truth. If I wrote a memoir, you wouldn't turn like 2 pages of it. It would be so boring. If I was being honest about it.
Looking at your Insta right before, while I was waiting for this interview, and I'm like, geez, look at this lady. Like, she's living it up. There's like presidential dinners.
But
there's
it's
like
not. Am I going to show you that I have to go down and stand in the line for Naturalia and see whether this is organic fruit, because now I can only eat organic because I'm going through a health thing? Like, am I going to tell you the boring nonsense? Yeah. No, so you can't believe any of this stuff. how my body is aging, the health problems that I have. I'm not going to post any of that shit. I'm not interested in reliving it myself. So
So fiction was the right choice. Clearly, clearly, this was a
100%. And I love the power of imagination. What do stories do for you? What is a good film? What is, at the moment, I'm binge watching Ted Lasso. I don't know why I waited so long to do this,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
The writing of this stuff is like exceptional. Everyone talks about Succession, but Ted Lasso's writing is,
yeah,
every single line is like boom. Just the
yeah,
other day, they were talking about this whole prima donna and prima donna, and like how many Indians make that mistake, right? Like the prima donna and the prima donna, and like just, I was like, to me, it takes me away from, okay, I've spent the whole day in front of the computer thinking, because I'm working on something new, of like, where does this begin? Where does this start? What am I doing? And then I watch Ted Lasso. It takes me away from myself. That's the power of a good story.
yeah,
Have I got anything to do with the football club in? No. Do I relate to any of these men? No. But it's the power of a good story that
yeah,
makes me transcend. And
yeah,
that's what I want. That's the service that I want to do for people. That I
yeah,
want them to spend time with my movies or my books or my Instagram or whatever it is, to just transcend for a minute.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay. So let's come to the book. Tell me if you can do a little reading for us, and then we will talk a little bit
I
more.
wish you had told me before, because I don't know what bit. If you tell me what bit to read, I'll read. But I don't have like a.
I think
It's
maybe
been so long.
from the start somewhere because that'll be easier.
Really, you want me to read? No, you.
Okay, you choose. Gosh, sorry guys.
No,
Just
I
episode
can't.
2, episode 2
I know
podcast.
that. I know I should be promoting the book and stuff, but
Please
why
promote
don't
it.
you, as the listener, the viewer, read my book, okay, rather than me doing
Okay, we're
it.
gonna try and convince you to do this then later, and then with the magic of editing.
Hi, I'm Koel, and I have been, my arm's been twisted into reading from my book, Clearly Invisible in Paris. So I'm choosing something, I'm not going to give you too much context of it, but this is one of my characters. She's waiting, her husband is in hospital, and she's waiting for some news for him, okay? The news that Jani, after 3 chancy nights on the ventilator, was turning the corner had greatly lifted her spirits. She changed out of her 3-day-old kaftan, slipped on a robe, ran a bath, made herself a mint tea, and switched on her laptop to lap up the latest morsels about Corona. Knowledge was power, after all, and the more she educated herself, the more useful she could be to the situation at hand. She found herself thanking the mother she couldn't stand for instilling this discipline and desire to arm herself with information. What she found online was an ocean of ignorance, along with a horrifying mine of conspiracy theories. No one knew anything, yet everyone felt compelled to share the nothingness of their not knowing. Sorry, I'll say that again. No one knew anything, yet everyone felt compelled to share the nothingness of their knowing. She felt her jaw tighten and her body tense up. This virtual window she was looking through, had a very real repercussions on her physical being. People are such idiots, she thought. Those in power were expounding beliefs that went against common sense. Why make statements that they knew they would be forced to retract in the coming months? It was befitting that her generation should face an enemy to civilization that wasn't wielding guns and tanks or sporting military insignia in a foreign language, but an enemy that came out of the breath of the person closest to them. Her generation of 40-year-olds was still trying to figure out who they were, why they were on Earth, and what place they occupied in the hierarchy of adults, because their own parents were refusing to take a bow, while their kids were already basking in spotlights of their own making. It was hard to find room at the top when at 60 plus, boomers were still commanded respect, made applause-worthy decisions, found new love, traveled to must-see, impossible to reach parts of the world, and most annoyingly, knew all along who they were, or worse, found the question redundant. The millennials had found and refound their purpose. Gen Z, and whatever alphabet came after, found it offensive and detrimental to their mental health to live under the man made construct that humans need to have purpose. They rejected the premise outright for being flawed and unwoke. while her generation, aptly termed Gen X, with X denoting a yet to be discovered value, played differential copycats. In their own nonchalant way, these later generation lived at a slower pace, understood the sweetness of delayed gratification, and publicly cared more about the bigger questions, such as how to save the planet, and not the smaller ones of why they were on the planet. They didn't ask to be on the planet, certainly not on the dying one they inherited. And to this end, most of them would not be bringing any new humans into the world. It was simply too cruel for all parties involved. For them, this invisible war was proof of nature raging against Gen X.
Insert here. It is a really
Yeah.
fun book. It's really fun. I want to let everyone know that. I mean, there's so many funny bits in it, but it's also very dramatic. It's very moving. What have been some of the most interesting reactions to you now? I feel like with readers coming up or anyone sharing.
What I like, Amrita, the most is that people are surprised. They're like, oh, this is really good. And to me, it makes me go, okay, I know you think I'm just like a, for want of a better word, a bimbette. Like, okay, an actress who doesn't have a brain and like, can look pretty, and that's about the beginning and the end of her life. They're actually like, you wrote a really complicated story. You held it, people. So that for me has been very satisfying to go,
Yeah.
yeah, hell yeah, I can write,
Yeah.
So to have that validation from people that I respect, Indian writers, Twinkle, Anuja, other
Oh,
people
amazing.
just to come turn around and say, I love this book.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so that's been very surprising and interesting. Not surprising, very satisfying.
And I feel like I don't know if it's me because I haven't read enough of this kind of stories set in front. Like, I think we tend to have more of these kind of stories in like big cities elsewhere, right? Like a London or New
Mm.
York, or like expats. When it's Indians traveling, or vice versa, when it's expats living in Delhi or Mumbai, it feels very new in that sense to have Paris explored this way. And you have the glamour, of course. You have like the fashion week, and you have the models. You have some of the stuff going on during like the pandemic, how people were having to deal with just being alone, and all of a sudden, a lot of the hierarchies collapsing. I mean, was that a
Fully.
reflection of what happened?
That is what happened.
Yeah.
I live in a very bougie part of Paris, and everyone here has second homes, has families that live in the countryside. So because we were given whatever it was at that point, 72 hours or something, to move where we wanted to confine, because no one knew how long the confinement would be. And the confinement was not like India. It was very strict. You literally could not step out. And also you didn't want to, because it was very early days.
Mm.
There were so many just coffins and deaths and things that you were seeing in Spain and in Italy, and no one knew what it was at
Yeah.
that point. This, I'm talking like March, April. No one knew what it was. It was very scary. Um, and the streets around me were empty. So all these things that you saw on Instagram or on social media, where people were clapping every night and stuff and all that, there were two people clapping on my street. There were just nobody. You didn't say. It was bizarre what it does to you. And the funny part of it is, and this is, I've said this before, this story I was writing long before the pandemic. And as I got to, I knew who these characters were, and I'd written maybe about 4 or 5 chapters. And my chapters are short, right? So I'd written 4 or 5 chapters, and I knew where they wanted to go, and I knew the story I was going to tell, so I knew where they belonged and all that. But I was like, you know what? My favorite books are books which are set against some amazing world event
Mm.
that connects everyone, whether it's Guernsey and the Potato Literary Society, whatever that is called, the Potato Peel. What is that book called?
Oh
I've
yeah,
forgotten.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
uh, um, Set against World War II or against the HIV pandemic or against anything. So I'm thinking, I wish I had been here. This is a horrible thing to say, but I wish I'd been here during the 2015 bombings. Maybe I would have got something, some terrorist attack. I would have understood something of this world and it was literally, I was on like chapter 6 or something, and the confinement was announced and the pandemic happened. And I was like, okay, be careful what you wish for, Koel. And then I didn't write for the next 6 months. I couldn't. I was writing, then I was writing nonfiction. I was writing a diary about Paris and stuff for a newspaper in India and things, and blogging and stuff. So I didn't write for a long time. The minute the confinement lifted, or the 100th confinement lifted about 7 months or something later, and then within 5 months I'd finished the book. So it was literally, I needed something, and it landed in my lap. But that could have been something else. And in the end, the book is not about the pandemic. That's just a device that
Yeah.
connects the people.
Yeah. Yeah. Wish for something more fun for your next book. The Olympics are happening, though apparently people are pooping in the Seine. I don't know what the hell the headlines are, but are you excited about these kind of things that are happening in your neighborhood, in your
Well,
hood?
actually, it's happening literally on my doorstep. And no, it's not exciting, because getting out of my house now
Ah,
means I have to go, all that. See, I've become Parisian.
you
Look at how
are
much
a
I
Parisian.
complain. Look
I
how much
was
I
just
complain.
that there you go. That is a Parisian side that we needed to hear. You spoke about Ted Lasso. I'm really curious to know what are you reading? What are you listening to? What are some of the pop culture influences on you at this point in time?
I try to watch pretty much everything well, not everything, but I watch a lot of varied stuff, from Indian regional things to American stuff to French stuff. Because for me, that's not always pleasure. Ted Lasso is pure pleasure
Hmm.
at this moment. It's work also, it's doing my homework, because I also write for screen, right? And I'm writing stuff. So it's to know what's working, what's not working, what are people thinking, what's already out there. So I watch a varied number of things. The latest thing, that actually a really fun show that I'm watching, is a French show called Fiasco. Right now, that is brilliant writing again, so funny. And the other one that I loved was Baby Reindeer. Lapata Ladies, like, finished watching it and then watched it again the next day,
Wow.
literally. Yeah, just could not get over the brilliance of that movie. What am I reading? I am reading Quarter Life right now, which I'm very jealous of, because it's like, what the f, why is she a good writer? Like,
This is Devika Reggie. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, Devika
Yeah.
Reggie, and
Reggie,
she
I
was
don't
on the
know.
panel with me in Jaipur Lit Fest.
Ah,
Such an unassuming, I love petite women, because I'm little, unassuming, socially shy uh, girl, and just her writing is really, it's dense, but it's
yeah.
phenomenal, and I'm jealous of it. So
I need to read this. I feel like this is what's happening to me also a lot. When I read
yeah.
good stuff, like you do get jealous, or you see someone doing a good show, and you're like, "Damn it, I'm so happy for you," but
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 why can't I write like this?
exactly, exactly. Oh, this has been super. I have just one or two more questions for you, Koel. I wanted to ask you a little bit about how important you think people taking care of their own mental health and emotional health and just being aware of what's going on, because we all have mental health, and that's something I've been working on through the Health Collective for the last 8 to 9 years, 8 years and counting. Do you think we talk more about mental health now, and do you think we pay enough attention to it?
Yes, I think we do talk much more, but also I'm not sure whether it's because we talk more, I don't think that that's the reason, but we do have the most depressed generation in front of us. We have the saddest generation of teenagers and 20 somethings. I don't remember being sad when I was young. Yeah, yeah, we had our trials and tribulations, as we all do at that age, but we had fun. They don't know how to have fun. And to me, I think I'm such a crusader for this, because I have a preteen daughter. I think social media is one of the biggest reasons that causes anxiety. And anxiety is palpable now. It's real. It's very present. It's omnipresent, in fact, amongst a certain generation of people. And they're not equipped to deal with it. I mean, someone like me, at my age, with all the things that I have achieved and not achieved, and all the things I want to achieve, even that with my, and I'm not even an influencer, but the dopamine that I get from the likes or the comments is 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 tangible to me.
Mm.
So what happens to a 20 something year old who's a lot more fragile, whose prefrontal cortex is not formed fully, who is still, dealing with so many hormones and emotional upheavals? What happens to them? It's very real. They are a depressed generation. And yes, we do need to address it, but we need to address it on a systematic,
Yeah.
on a proper level of where we're not just dealing with it of let's get therapy, let's talk about it more, but what are we offering you globally as entertainment, as avenues of what is accessible to you, um, and addressing that is, I think, is pertinent, is really really important, right? Is
No,
vital.
100%. And I think
Yeah.
also, I mean, when we're younger, also, everyone grows through mistakes they've made or having failures or like, picking yourself up. And I think right now, with everyone having to perform constantly, that's one thing I feel you feel a bit worried, right? When everything's a performance on social media, there's very little scope for younger people to actually mess up, apologize, and move on. Like there's an instant, like, wave of bullying or a,
Because
reaction.
everything you do is magnified, right?
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
that aspect that you can't make your mistakes in private and move on, and
Yeah.
or if you're bullied, you're bullied on a much bigger stage. If you're big, but also there is this fake aspirational
Mm.
lens that everyone is seeing their life through. And I mean, just right now, looking at myself on your screen, okay, I have an issue with the way I'm looking because I've got so used to looking at myself through the Paris filter. So I don't look like me
What? And I was just
to
saying, you look
me.
gorgeous.
No,
Look
no,
at
but
this.
just
I
I'm
look like,
saying, I don't
yeah.
look like what
You start
I
thinking
think
that,
I
yeah.
look like.
The
So
filters
imagine
are,
what
yeah.
happens to
Yeah.
these,
Yeah.
I've had 40 plus years with my face. They're just about growing into their face, and um, they
Yeah.
they don't even look like what they think they look like.
Yeah.
Firstly, secondly, it's all about keeping up with fake lives. None of that, like I said, nothing I post is real. It's just
Yeah.
entertainment for me and for whoever wants to follow me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually, it's ridiculous when you think about it. You're right. Because it skews your entire aspect of reality, right? You
And
just,
no one is living like that. So
yeah.
yeah, you might want, oh, I want that thin waist, but that thin waist was achieved with a filter. It's not actually real. Or I want that kind of the car they're driving or whatever, and that may be something they've borrowed for 2 minutes to show. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I find it anyway. I mean, I can go on and on about social media, but mental health is something that needs to be addressed. It is being addressed, not at the level that it needs to be addressed at. I don't believe it is. The schools need to step in. The parents
Yeah.
need to step in. We're still okay. Our generation is still okay. We have we are the suppressed generation, right? We are okay with putting our feelings down and just getting on with stuff, right? This generation is very delicate. They don't know how to do it. We can't force them to do it. We can't say, Ali, come on, get off and just get on with stuff. They haven't been brought up like that. They've been brought up by parents who are helicoptering around them. And the schools need to step in. The parents need to stop wanting to be their children's friends. Be their parents. This is a
Mm.
fight I have all the time. Be their parents. Be the person that they will come to for real issues, not someone they hang out and go, yo, bro. No.
So your daughter's not yo broing you, I take it.
Oh my
Okay.
God, she is permanently yo broing me
Oh,
and
no.
permanently going, duh, Sigma, skibbity.
Oh, God.
I don't even understand what she's saying. Oh, I stick out my gat for the Rizzlers. What does that mean?
God, preteens and teens, so scary. So scary from the outside.
Like awful, awful.
Okay, as we just final thoughts from you in terms of anything you want to share with us that you're working on or you're looking forward to next. apart from the election results, hopefully.
No, totally not looking forward to that one.
You're hoping.
Yeah, but what has he done? I mean, you know
Yeah.
what? Like, I refrain from ever giving political comments because I don't want the whole, all the trolls on my case and all the nonsense. And I like really don't. But more and more, seeing what's happening around the world, in America, in France, powerful men are just young boys, idiot boys, whose toys have been taken away from them. Oh my God! Do you realize what you're doing to the world? Like, I want to take each one of them and say, grow the F up. This is not about you being, like, firstly, one foot in the grave, have the decency to be able to say, okay, this job is not for me. Let the right man come and do the job. No, I won't, because this is my way. Will a woman ever do this? Look at
Yeah.
Jacinda, gosh, what's her name?
New
You know
Zealand.
what I'm talking. Yeah. And who felt that she wasn't giving 100%, took a step back. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't agree with everything. Like, men are permanently going on and on, but look at, a woman would not, because if she's not able to deliver at a certain level, she comes away. Men, no, they just think it's their birthright to be. Oh my God. Okay, I just sorry.
Also, for the potential trolls, she's talking about France. My Indian bhaiyo behno, please keep watching us. Subscribe. Do not troll. We had so much fun. I had so much fun talking to you. As
Yeah.
always, Koel, you're a delight. I hope we see you back in India soon. And you're such a global citizen at this point. I know you're always like you're just between cities. More power to your pen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you. And I got away with not reading. Yay! Go read my book.
Please read her book, and see
Yeah.
you soon.
Okay. Bye. Whatever
Wait,
this
hold on.